I think we're good.
Sorry, okay. Great.
Is there any question or any like thing that you have that you want to ask?
No, I think I should be good. I just can't wait till it gets flowing. You know what I mean? I'm just a little nervous right now. But...
No, don't be. You can just chill. You can just relax. This is like us having a conversation at a bar or something, like at a friend's party. That's it.
Okay.
You don't have to be nervous about anything.
Okay.
How was your day? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just wrapped up like a 2-hour news session on Skype. So I've been like this is like
oh my God, you're incredibly busy, aren't you?
The top like 30 stories in India right now. I just did that right now.
Oh wow. Oh, good for you though. Oh.
Yeah. So should we start?
We should.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the Ashish Ddavidd Show. A lot of you have been, wanting to hear from, and you want to see me basically talk to people from all over the world, and that is one of the reasons why I'm kind of in season 4. I'm focusing on people from outside India who are doing great stuff, and that brings me to our current guest today. But before I tell you about her, I have to tell you a little bit about the show. The show is about me having conversations with different people. It's an open dialogue. It's an open conversation. You can say whatever you want. It's all about free speech. Nobody's going to edit you over here, and you can just open your heart out, tell your story to the world, and basically that's all that there is. It's not very complicated. It's pretty simple. You get in touch with me and you get on the show, and that's exactly how today's guest has gotten on the show. But before I tell you about her, I have to tell you like a little bit. Okay, I've been stalking her online, and I know a little bit of things about her, and I'm going to tell you about her. So she's a vocal coach. She's into music theater. She's done her education in childhood studies and childhood education, also education for children of special needs. She's done her education in psychology. She's a grade 10 music student from the Royal Conservatory of Music in Canada. She's a music teacher. She's an opera singer. She's also a development officer, and she owns her own music school. Besides that, and just like if that wasn't enough, she can speak 6 languages.
I'm surprised that you know so much about me. It's wonderful.
Welcome to the Ashish Ddavidd Show, ladies and gentlemen, Julianna Cole.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Ashish. And for those who don't know me, my name is Julianna Cole, and I am an artist from Toronto. We'll just keep it small and say that. I've watched several of your interviews, Ashish, and it's just a beautiful thing to be able to communicate with a bunch of people from around the world, and especially during these difficult times. And it's so great to be able to connect with one another and keep inspiring others with a positive mindset moving forward. So,
Julianna, I want to know, how old are you? How did you do so much in such how? Man, I mean, I'm just like a voiceover artist. I sing. I do a bunch of things as well. I'm a music producer. I'm a radio jockey, and I do this podcast. But oh my God, you've done so many things. Where's that paper gone? Wait.
Where's it gone?
Gotta get that paper, man. I was so excited. So how did so much happen, man? Firstly, okay, so Julianna, welcome to the Ashish Ddavidd Show. First of all, how are you feeling now that you're on the Ashish Ddavidd Show? How are you feeling?
I feel great. And when you reached out, I was just so excited to be able to come on here and share a little bit about myself. And I just think it's a wonderful thing, like I said, to be able to communicate with a bunch of people from around the world and just get a view of what they're thinking and what they're doing with their lives at the moment. So to answer your question, I am 30 years old. I grew up in Niagara Falls, Canada, with beautiful parents and 2 siblings. I am the middle and the only girl. So I have an older brother and I have a younger brother. And we grew up in a very artistic family background. My mother and father were constantly taking us as young children to museums and art shows and theaters. And basically, we had a beautiful childhood. We were always constantly involved in the arts. You name it, we did it. I started to sing at a very, very young age, and my mother and father noticed this, and they asked, if I wanted to be put in private music lessons. And of course, I was ecstatic to do that. So they enrolled me in private voice lessons, where I studied with the Royal Conservatory of Music and Conservatory Canada. And from there, I just basically worked my way up. And I studied with them for a very, very long time. And I took breaks here and there with school and whatnot. But I got my grade 10 a few years back, and I just got right into it and started music teaching. So
that is superb. So you were growing up in Toronto, in Canada, is what I understand, right?
So actually, I was born and raised in Niagara Falls, Canada. I moved to Toronto recently, and actually, it's been about 2 years since I've been living in Toronto now. I had worked in Niagara-on-the-Lake for a number of years at a theater called the Shaw Festival Theater. So that is the second largest repertory theater company in North America. And I had a position there that I was really comfortable with, but unfortunately, I felt that I wasn't reaching my full potential. So I made the decision to move to the big city, and I made the move to Toronto, and that is where I currently am living now.
So Niagara, the place where you were staying, how was it like, in your childhood? What was happening? How were your friends? What were the fun stuff you guys used to do in city around Christmas time?
So we actually, in Niagara Falls, obviously everyone, it's one of the high locations, destination weddings and everything. People come to see Niagara Falls. So thankfully we weren't too close to the falls, and we weren't kind of involved with a lot of pedestrians and people like that. We were more on I want to say the north end, and we grew up next to my grandparents, actually. My mother and father, my mother's mother and father, their parents, and we lived right next door to them, and we had a beautiful childhood. I can honestly say that growing up in Niagara Falls, it was just such a wonderful family-oriented neighborhood. We had a school actually that was just behind us, which was our elementary school that we went to, and it was just picturesque. We were growing up. Our parents walked us literally across the field to go to school, and as we got older, as siblings, we walked together, and it was beautiful.
Like when I was a kid, my grandparents used to live in a very small part of Maharashtra, which is another state in India. And I remember I used to go there. It used to be pretty much the same. There was agriculture was the main kind of profession that a lot of people were into. And it was so different from New Delhi, which is the capital city. It's like traffic and all this stuff. And then suddenly in our summer vacations, we used to land up there, and we used to have a family gathering. We had a huge farm of our own, and we used to have chickens and livestock, and we used to go fishing and whatnot. It used to be a lot of fun. So, do you miss that time of your life now?
Absolutely. My mother's brother had a beautiful peach farm, and us as siblings would work on it when we were younger. We'd go and help them out and make baskets and stuff like that. And it was just such a beautiful thing. We'd look forward to our summers, to spend some time with family and our cousins and work on the farm, and to be able to, have that. And it was really, really hard for me growing up in kind of with a country style living to move to a big city. It was a big step. And I remember as a young child, I never liked the city. My older brother did, but I hated it. I did not want to be a part of anything with too fast pace and whatnot. And then I had a little bit of a taste of the real country living in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and I thought, I just need to move to the city. There's just no more opportunities for me here, especially being a really artistic individual. The city is where it's at. So I accepted that. It was hard, but I did ultimately make that change.
Absolutely. And you can always visit once in a while when you miss it. And tell us, what was the kind of music that you were listening to, when you were growing up? Because apparently music is a huge part of what you're doing now, Julianna.
Okay. So growing up, I listened to a lot of the pop music that was on the radio, but really what I studied was classical music. One of my favorite artists was Mozart, and I listened to him on a daily basis, especially being the music that I was learning in vocal lessons. And my private music teacher would have these cassettes that she'd take on her own time, and she'd record the music on the piano, and then she would give them to me. So weeks have gone by, and I'm learning this music and singing with it and trying to read the music and whatnot. But classical music was definitely my high point, and that's how I evolved into opera.
So at one point of time, I think somewhere last year, I was actually thinking of moving to Canada because apparently, I'll tell you why. In terms of the number of radio stations, apparently America has the most radio stations, and on number 2, it's Canada. So I did not know this, but I found out, and I was like, wow. So there's actually a lot of radio stations in Canada, and there are a lot of Indian radio stations also, apparently, for some reason. There are a lot of Indians there, yeah?
That's the beautiful thing about Canada. You basically put your car thing on speed, and you just go through a bunch of these different channels, and you find one you like, and you press the button again, and it's just filled with different type of music. So it's kind of hard when you say, "Oh, what type of music did you listen to?" Because me as an individual, I love anything and everything about music, any type, anything. I just fall in love with it, and I think you really need to feel the music to be able to, really fall in love with something, right? You need to have an emotional connection with what's playing or what you're listening to, and if not, it's kind of garbage in a way.
Yeah, so. Because I remember when I was growing up, there was a vinyl record player in the house. There were these old radios which were kept, and both my elder sisters used to fool me. They used to be like, this thing, they're like miniature people living inside, and every time you change the station, you can listen to another room. And for the longest time, I grew up with that mindset. And Julianna, now it's been I've worked with 6 international networks, and I still sometimes feel like I'm one of those people in the room.
Well, that's a good feeling to have. I'm glad they told you that. What a beautiful little lie.
Yeah, and I believed it because they were my elder sisters. Why would they lie to me? Little did I know, man. Little did I know. So superb. So how was so you shifted to the big city. What was the transition like?
So,
how did you adapt? What was those initial years like? When you had just.
Mm-hmm. So how it started was when I graduated from high school, I was basically sort of finding myself, what it was that I wanted to do. I had all of this music behind me, and it was just time to, sit down and figure out what it is exactly that I wanted to do. And my brother, a professional actor now, back then, being a year older than me, I did look up to him in a way, and I wanted to follow his footsteps. So he, a year later, had studied with a school called New York Film Academy in Los Angeles, California. Mm-hmm. And everyone thinks of, California, especially when you're young and you're just graduated from high school and you're just like, that's where I want to be, the beach and the sun and all that stuff. So I followed in his footsteps and took a year and went to Los Angeles, California, where I studied dance. And then from there, I went to Orlando, Florida, where I studied with a professional musical theater teacher there, and she was wonderful. Her name was Greta Aldine, and she's one of the most well-known artists in Orlando, Florida, for musical theater. And I studied there for a bit, and then like I said, there's a few years that I was just kind of finding myself, what it was that I wanted to do, and then I came back home and I decided to settle down, and I wanted to find a way that I was able to incorporate my love for the music and my love for children, which is why I got my teacher's diploma and working with special educational needs. I wanted to incorporate that with everything that I love, and basically opened up my own music studio at a very young age.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So when did you discover this love for kids? Because I think recently somebody was on my show, Judy Smith, this lady from she's also, by the way, from she's from Australia. So she's in Sydney, and she was telling me, how she just couldn't tolerate kids, and ma'am, I want to go to the bathroom, ma'am, can I please, this person is hitting me, ma'am, this, ma'am, that. So I mean, like, I'm pretty okay with kids as long as they don't start shouting, like, on a plane or one of those situations. So how did you like discover your love for kids?
Honestly, I always had it growing up with cousins around me. My mother had such a big family, and even my dad's side. But we living next door to my grandparents on my mom's side, we always were together with that side of the family, and I just always had this love for children. I always at a young age, I watched my baby brother grow up as well, right? So he's not a baby anymore, but I still think of him as my baby brother. And I worked with children at a really young age as well. My first job was at the YMCA in Niagara Falls, working in the children's studies and into that area of things, programming and working with kids. And I also worked at a preschool where we had infants, like say a few months old, that would come there, and we worked and all the way up to toddlers, preschoolers actually. But yeah, all the screaming and all the, I have to go to the bathroom, I love it. I love it. I'm a very nurturing person, so.
Absolutely. That is superb. So after that, you were pretty young, right? You were in your mid-20s or something when you started your school.
Correct. Yes, I was in my early 20s actually when I started the schooling. Yes, So I went, like I had mentioned, I went to Los Angeles, and then Orlando. Came back home, did my teacher's diploma, opened up my own music studio, and it wasn't long after I opened up my own music studio that my mother actually came across a job posting for the Shaw Festival Theatre. And the Shaw Festival Theatre we went to as young kids. My parents took us there, and being a young girl in the audience, I always wanted to work there. I always did. And I applied for the job, and they hired me, and I actually climbed up pretty, like, to a really high position where, like I said, I was comfortable with, but I still felt like I wasn't reaching my full potential there, which is why I had to look elsewhere. This is in Niagara-on-the-Lake. That is where I had the few years of working in a little small town. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Niagara-on-the-Lake, but it also is number one place to go to visit in Ontario. It's just a beautiful old town, a town that still closes at 5 o'clock, so you can't get anything past then. And they still have the horse and carriage that they take you around the town, and it's just so beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, it's like a storybook, right? Like, I remember when I was a kid, my mother used to, I don't know from where she used to get like these old Russian storybooks for us, okay? And because we were in India, right? Like, so the comics that we had came much later, but like I'm talking about like the mid 80s, okay? I'm pretty historic. I'm prehistoric, okay? I'm pretty old. So I remember she used to get like these amazing storybooks, and the illustrations in those books were of those carriages and horses and those old style lamps and all those things. So I can imagine how awesome, I mean, that experience must have been for you.
It was beautiful, and we used to visit that little town when we were, like I said, when we were younger, and it was always somewhere that I thought about wanting to live. And thankfully, I was really right downtown Niagara-on-the-Lake, where I had my place, and I literally could walk to work every single day, and it was beautiful. For the time being, but I'd reached a point where, like I said, I felt that I wasn't reaching my full potential, and there was just hardly any opportunities for me in such a small town. So I decided to find a place in Toronto, and I moved there and found a job in that Soul Pepper Theatre Company. That's a theatre in Toronto, and I worked there for a few months, and then COVID hit, life hit, this pandemic, everything just kind of fell right in front of my face. Basically, here's a girl who's just made the decision to move to a big city and to support herself. It's not cheap. It's expensive living in the city, right? And then your job kind of just, the pandemic hits and the arts were hit so very hard. And I think that's the turning point in my life where I really thought I would dig deep and reopen all the kind of things that I had done as a young child, and that is where I really started focusing on my writing, which we had discussed about me being a published writer finally.
Yes, awesome. So tell us about that phase of your life, and you're like, okay, now let's write now. What were the challenges that you faced? How did you actually get into it?
So basically, I had accumulated a bunch of poetry that I had written over the years through personal experiences like love, loss, mental anguish, certain emotions that people feel as a young girl growing up, different relationships, different feelings. And like I said, I accumulated a bunch of poetry, and I thought to myself, one day I'll write a book. One day when I'm a little older, I'll kind of do this thing. And basically, it's like you're revealing a part of you to thousands of, like everyone, basically. You have it out there. It's public. People can read your book at any time, pick it up and read it. And it was basically like I was spilling out all of my emotions that I had kind of bottled up for a bunch of years and made the decision to publish it. The struggles that I faced, like I said, a bunch of artists kind of lost their jobs, and it was kind of like they had kind of thought to themselves, even still now, you go and look for a job posting in the arts, and it's so hard to come across because no one knows when theaters are going to open up again or when we're going to be able to interact with people. So yeah, I mean, it was hard, and I was feeling a bunch of emotions, and I thought, I'm going to put these emotions to use, write them down, and make something beautiful out of it, and which is what I did.
Superb. Julianna, I'm thinking, this is like the mid part of like our interview, and this is the time where I, if it's a musician or if it's a singer, I ask them to do a little bit of singing, or so what are you going to sing for our audiences? Because they're pretty excited, they've gotten to know you a little bit more, they know a little background about you, and now they're like, all right, she's going to sing for us. So what are you going to sing for them?
What am I going to sing? I will sing a beautiful aria, I think. I haven't sang in quite some time now, so I might not be warmed up, but I'll just go for it. Here we go. I got some water here. Yeah.
That's okay. People are allowed to, mess up or something. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be you singing. It's all right.
Okay. I don't want to be too loud either because I don't want it to be too close to the mic because I'm pretty loud. I'm an opera singer, so.
Okay.
Let's try this.
Don't worry. If it gets loud, I'll let you know.
Okay. Vedrai carino se sei buonino che bel rimedio ti voglio dar di naturale non dai disgusto e lo speziale non lo sa far, non lo sa far, no. How's that? Is that long enough?
That is awesome. No, why did you stop? You. Don't stop, man. Please go on. You are so awesome.
Thank you. It gets pretty high, and like I said, I hadn't warmed up this morning or in a really long time, so I don't want to.
Well, see that helped you warm up. Now you're good to go.
Good to go. I don't know about that.
Superb. Yeah. Super awesome, man. I actually thought that I was at some really super expensive like opera concert without a ticket. That's exactly how I felt right now.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I've fell in love with theater and opera at a very young age, and my goal one day is to work in New York at the Met, because that is where I feel most at home, is just the Metropolitan Opera. So beautiful, such a beautiful place.
So I don't know, like a lot of my viewers don't know this about me, but I have actually been a part of a lot of musicals here in India as well. So I have sung in Jesus Christ Superstar, Les Miserables, Beauty and the Beast, uh, a bunch of more. Now they're not coming to my mind because this was like after I left school and when I think I was in like my earlier college stages. There was a musical theater group in Delhi, and they used to do these musicals, and that's where basically I got a lot of my jazz vocal training from. And I'm also part of a blues band, by the way. I've been a part of a lot of a cappella choirs.
That's wonderful. Oh my God, that's beautiful. I love meeting people like you that just have so much going on, right? This is similar to me. Like I constantly need change.
So I don't know if you can actually see much here, but this is actually a music production studio.
Okay, and it's your music production studio, correct?
It's my music production studio. So so besides doing voiceovers and singing and radio, I'm also a mix and recording sound engineer.
Oh wow! Okay, that's amazing.
And this is where I record, mix, and master like independent artists doing their own original music.
That's wonderful. That's so wonderful. I love that.
But the reason why I wanted to mention was that so in my first year college was the first musical that I did, which was Jesus Christ Superstar. And if you are familiar with the music, it's by Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber, were just like simply brilliant. Unfortunately, I had to play the character of somebody like one of the two high priests. One was Caiaphas, and there was another high priest called Annas. And I was playing the role of Annas. And
okay.
Nobody called me Annas, man. Nobody called me Annas. You know what they called me. But that's like a little funny story from my musical theater experience, but it was a lot of fun. The music was awesome. Tell us about maybe your school experience when you started having kids over, and what was that like?
So I had a little music studio downtown Niagara Falls, and it was a very, very cute little one, actually. And I don't know if you're familiar with or have heard of kinder music. It is worldwide, and basically it can start from little infants that come with their parents to just get the little shakers out and the tambourines and just kind of hear it and get a feel of it, and just involve your kids in that at a very, very young age, so they're sort of used to it. So I had young children, like babies and infants, come with their parents, and I also had the toddlers and elderly people that have retired. They have more time in their hands, and they just want to kind of get a feel of more like be more musically inclined. And I would have to say that the toddlers are my favorite to teach, right? They're just they're not really paying attention. They're doing their own thing, and they're so free, and they just want to that's so beautiful to me, right? Because I was a kid, like obviously we were all kids ourselves, and that is when I really found my love for music. I was dabbling in a bunch of different stuff, and I noticed that when you get to the older grades, sometimes it's not the love of the music that the child has. It's more of a push from the parents, or they have it in them and they kind of want their children to follow in some sort of path that they might not want to do. So, right. It becomes difficult the older as they get, right? Especially if you're studying and enrolling them in with the Royal Conservatory of Music or Conservatory Canada or anything like that, where they have to get good grades to pass, and if they're just not interested in it, it just doesn't come, right? So,
and the cool part about toddlers is that they are how they are. There's no filter. They just say whatever they want to. If you suck, they're not going to be nice and tell you, yeah, you were good. They're just going to tell you how it is.
Exactly.
Superb. And so what all are the other things, that are very important to you, that you're feeling very passionate about at this time, when there's a lockdown happening? I'm pretty sure, this has been a time where all of us have sort of, re-looked at so many things and, wondered what the future is going to be. So what is going on in Julianna's mind right now? what are you feeling about all this that's happening?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's been hard on a lot of people, but I'm very thankful that Canada as a country has sort of come together and implemented a bunch of rules that we have been following. But mainly, my heart goes out to countries that really don't have that in implementation or that plan set in place, and they're suffering for so many different reasons. It's not just a pandemic. Life continues, and just life happens, and things get thrown at different countries, different people all the time. How I like to stay focused, I do like to resort to the arts in a lot of ways, and I have done that for a number of years. But I do miss socializing with friends and family. I'm a very family-oriented person, and I miss that. I miss being able to go out to patios and hang out with your friends and hear what they're up to. And I feel a little bit of depression sort of sets in, right? And it's a change for everybody, and sometimes people can't really adapt to change, so it becomes difficult. And hearing friends and other people say they're so sick of being locked up in the house and whatnot, and that's why we have to be there for each other. And that's why I love this show so much, right? Because you get them kind of out of their shell, and they're able to talk to them. It's almost like a form of therapy where you're able to
Yes.
express I just love it. I love it.
Yeah, my audience loves my sad sense of humor for some reason.
The best. It's the best.
But it's good, but another thing that I've noticed about you, Juliana, is that you're a very focused and a very driven person. So you are like one of those kind of musicians who are very practical, and you always have a plan kind of a person, is what I can understand. How are you coping with, because I come across a lot of musicians who are admitting that they're kind of breaking down at this point, because right now they don't know if they're going to be gigs again, if they're going to be concerts again. When all this happened, how did you kind of cope with it?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I think you really need to communicate with people as much as you can. Artists are constantly around people. They're constantly socializing. They're discovering new things. And like you said, some people aren't really adaptable to change. And I think that we really need to sit down and realize that there are people, everyone's experiencing the same thing. And there are people that you can talk to. You have to have an open mind and really stay positive. Discover just different outlets that you can find in yourself that might inspire you, even going for walks in your own yard or your own neighborhood and planting something. I know that there's, stores aren't open right now, but you can even go to like any, say a dollar store in Canada and get some soil and some seeds and just plant something. And people don't realize that even the small things like that can just lift your spirits throughout the day. Me personally, I resorted to writing. That's where I really discovered and found myself. I wrote everything down. I was writing what I was feeling in the daytime. If I was angry, even if you don't need to express it to anybody, you're writing it down on a page, and you're basically getting out your feelings. It's like you're talking to someone because you're writing everything down. And just hope for the best. There's an end to this, right? We're going to have some sort of normality back very soon. I can feel it. But until then, I think we all need to, stay positive and communicate with one another and realize that everyone's...
I was having this conversation with a friend of mine a few days back, and I was telling him that, dude, the human being has survived I don't know how many centuries. Like, the human genes and our DNA has survived down the centuries, and we're supposedly the most intelligent creature, right? And how can like a virus be stronger than us? I just refuse to believe it. Like, maybe for a little while, we might be in a situation where, this virus seems to be more powerful than us, but we have to understand that it's just a virus. It is just a virus. At the end of the day, we are like the most evolved species at least till, some alien being lands up and tells us that that's not the case. But at least till then, at least till then, we're like pretty all right, and if not today, maybe after a year, maybe after 2 years, maybe after 5 years, there will be a solution. So
Yeah.
let's remember that. I think we've just forgotten it. We think that like there are no gigs, nobody can meet, like there's a lockdown, and it's always going to be. It's not going to be like that always.
You're right. There is an end in sight, and we just got to stay positive. But even though as hard as it is, there are always people out there that you can talk to and communicate with and share your feelings. And I think that's the most important thing that everyone really needs to focus on, is that everyone's going through the same thing right now. So it's not just you. It's not you. You're not suffering alone. We're all doing it together. So,
are you in touch with your friends? Do you get to meet family at all, or is everybody under lockdown? What's the case right now at your end?
We are currently in lockdown until June 3rd, I believe. But I do visit my family. I go home to Niagara on the weekends and spend time with them. And because my Nana, who's next door, she's getting very, very old. She's next door to my parents, and we like to communicate and stay with them. And because she hasn't gone anywhere, or we don't really go anywhere when we're home. We don't really socialize because we can't. It's lockdown. So we go and visit her. We're so thankful to have devices like the iPhone or Skype, where we can just video call and keep her company while we're eating dinner and stuff like that. But yeah, I like to communicate with family as much as I can on a daily basis, if not multiple times on a daily basis too. Yeah, I'm very close with family.
And are you meeting your friends?
Not so much the friends, because it also there's rules that you have to follow, which is like, if there's one person per household, I think you're allowed 2 people to come over, but there's just everyone is kind of weirded out by that, and we have to follow those strict rules that we have in place for things to move forward and get better. So as far as friends, I communicate with my friends on a daily basis through social media and all that stuff, and texting and all that. But as far as visiting them, it's been pretty tough. We haven't been able to really do that very much.
Superb. Is there anything else that I might have missed, Julianna, that you would like to talk about?
No, I think I'm just going to say once again that I think this is a beautiful thing. I wish people would come across your page more often and just enjoy these videos, and hopefully I can connect with a bunch of people by just today's show, and just I'm always here. You've kind of expressed that to many people that you are here as well, and yeah, you can reach out. You can put my Instagram or Facebook and information anywhere, and I'm here to talk. I love meeting people, and I love doing that. So
absolutely, thank you so much, Julianna, for being on the Ashish Ddavidd Show. Julianna, I think you're a very very kind human being. You have a soft heart, for kids. You've pursued your passion. You're a family girl, and you've also been a very strong creative professional, which is what I respect a lot, because it's very easy to become a creative professional and somehow go down the rabbit hole when things don't go well. So you're an example for a lot of people of how they need to do it right and do it early in their life and not waste any time. You have so many great qualities that just in 45 minutes I can tell so much that why that smile is there on your face, because you found a way to be happy in this time, and I'm pretty sure all my listeners are going to love that about you and connect with you very, very soon. Julianna, how was your experience of being on the Ashish Ddavidd Show?
Absolutely wonderful. It's like therapy. It's beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it. And we will obviously keep in touch now that we're connected in a sort of way, and it's beautiful. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
And for anybody who wants to get in touch with Julianna for, I don't know, like maybe music classes or, learning music, or if you're, later on when things get better, you're visiting that side of the world and you want to, catch a coffee or something, just find out more about her life and, how she got into so many great things that she's doing. Well, even if you know one of those 6 languages, no problem, because she can speak 6 languages.
That's wonderful. Yes.
That is super awesome. So, thank you for being a part of the Ashish Ddavidd Show, Juliana. And I hope the next time I catch you, we have a bunch of more fun stories to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
A great time. Take care, Juliana. And I shall
Bye-bye.
see you again soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.